Good afternoon. And good afternoon. This is Mark Weiner reporting from Djuma Game Reserve live on WildEarthTV. Here is the news. The zebra I'm looking for look like they've gone that way. There are zebra tracks here. Hi everybody. Welcome to our PM safari. I can't do the whole news anchor thing. I thought I could try. I thought I could pull it off. I'm not an anchor. Oh, and tracks coming back. Maybe it's that stallion. We're on Zoe's Road. We're coming to look at, trying to see what we can do about, see what we can find. Trying to follow up on that zebra. This is our PM safari. Brian is on camera and Andrew is in final control. Welcome to Djuma Game Reserve. Welcome to our live safari. Part of the Greater Kruger National Park. Tiny little patch actually of the Greater Kruger. Zebra have been up and down here, so I think the herd has been here. I don't know what has happened. We were not able to get back here yesterday afternoon after having an encounter with a zebra yesterday morning. A rather unusual encounter that didn't need to leave much to the imagination about what was going on. That was close, was it? It just ran out from under the vehicle, close to the tire. We came along here yesterday morning to start a drive. We had to do some battery swap. We had to do a little bit of maintenance. And round about here, coming around this little bend where this big termite mound is, there was a big zebra in the road and he wouldn't let me pass. He was adamant that I stop and at least acknowledge what he had to say. Unfortunately, my zebra isn't very good at the moment, so I didn't quite understand him, and we carried on. We eventually managed to get to do what we needed to do. We managed to get to swap out the batteries, and we were coming back this way. Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm seeing, so it's hard for my brain to think about what I'm talking about. It's occupied elsewhere. I'm a man. I don't see anything here, no sign of zebbies. But on the way back, he was even more adamant, and he stopped us again, and then he showed me this mare of his that was having rather some difficulties. Hard to ignore that he was clearly trying to get someone's attention. And then I spoke to a couple of the guides with their guests who also experienced his adamance or his behavior. But now I don't know where they are. It looks like they went a little bit north from here. Wildebeest came this way. But an elephant. We could just establish which way the elephant went. Baby elephant. So unfortunately it might be one of those stories that we'll never know the end we'll never know the answer to. Another snake and another snake. I've seen three snake tracks already this afternoon. Brian says, love to see one of these snakes. Weren't you with me that afternoon? Who was with me on camera? Aaron, maybe, at Thorny Bush, when we had that black mamba in the road. Maybe it wasn't you. No, you would have remembered that, I reckon. Maybe you want to leave at the time or something. But that, I think, is actually the last time I had a really big snake on the road on camera. And when we had that black mamba on the road. But it looks like an afternoon for reptile activity. Since I've seen a few snake tracks already. Bright. I can't explain to you how bright it is, but at least if we get to the west now, we can east with the sun takes us. When Plan B doesn't work out. Hello Impala. Nice to see you all out in the open on a hot afternoon. Sure. This is a huge herd. There they come. 3 drongos having a that's the one that was being chased away. There were two other drongos that it's being chased again now. It seems it was a 2 against 1 thing. Unfortunately, it was very bright looking into the sun. The strongo that has been chased, sitting in this little acacia. Can't really tell whether it's a juvenile, but I don't think. Andrew, please repeat the last. The last question, please repeat it. Have I ever seen an elephant with floppy trunk syndrome? No, never happened here in Kruger. As far as I know, I might be wrong. I'm open to correction. But as far as I know, floppy trunk syndrome is something that started happening to elephants back in maybe the late 80s, early 90s, up in Zimbabwe, around Lake Kariba, and mostly concentrated around Zimbabwe. I don't think that there were any other cases that were recorded anywhere else. I would like to know that, and I know Sharon will be on that, and a bunch of others might. But it doesn't matter, for your own benefit as well as maybe sending info to me through Andrew in Final Control. Maybe I'll ask the question now, because this is something I need to know. Because as far as my knowledge goes, floppy trunk syndrome was a problem that was affecting the muscular control of elephants' trunks. It was like a neurotoxin that they were ingesting, but it wasn't so strong that it was affecting other parts of their nervous system. It was mainly affecting the trunk, and it caused as the name suggests, floppy trunk, which meant that they couldn't use their trunk. So it was very difficult to drink. It was very difficult to eat. And I think there were a number of elephants that might have died in the early 90s or so. I do remember that in 1996 I was trying to research things, and I happened to have a unique library at my disposal. It was a computer. That was the first time I ever saw what a computer library looked like. A database of articles and things. And it was UC Santa Cruz, believe it or not, when I was looking up stuff for mountain lion studies. But we were on a theory. Sandy, a friend of mine, lady I went to live with in California, Sandy and I were trying to think of theories as to why, because she was a vet. And being involved in large mammals in California, there's a species of plant in California that affects the the nerves around horses' muzzles. I think it's a California thistle or something. I can't remember what it is. I'll think of the name of the plant. But there was a plant, the star thistle. Sometimes I can remember things and sometimes I can't. But anyway, I'll think of it. And she was thinking that if horses were eating this particular plant and it was numbing their faces, that maybe elephants were eating a particular plant. So we were looking into Nile cabbage and, well, a lot of plants that were choking Lake Kariba at the time, a very big lake up in Zimbabwe. Nothing really came of it, but that was at about the time when floppy trunk syndrome was probably at its height. There was a belief that it was either something they were eating or it was something that was happening to them as a result of excessive petroleum pollution in Lake Kariba from the higher number of motorboats that were enjoying, I guess you could say, like Lake Havasu or Tahoe in the summer. Except there's no water skiing or anything. It's all about fishing and game viewing. And the boats might not be going very fast, but what they're doing is they're just puttering around. And if anybody's ever had a boat on a freshwater lake, you know that your exhaust fumes that splutter out underneath your motor actually do carry some petroleum products, byproducts, or pollution. Electric motors are the best. Anyway, I don't think that I ever followed up on it. I don't think I ever really learned what it was that was causing floppy trunk syndrome. And I don't think that there have been many cases in the last 20 years or so. But I am really open to learn more about it and to see where it has gone since then. So the question to you is, was it isolated to Zimbabwe, and were there any more cases, say, after the late 90s? It's just sort of a random date. Maybe 98, 99. In 97, after I came back from California and didn't get to do much further research on it because I found myself in one of the remotest parts of Africa that I could when I came back from California. I was in the Sulu Game Reserve in southern Tanzania, in one of the remotest spots, surrounded by thousands of elephants, none of which showed any symptoms or signs of floppy trunk, despite although it wasn't excessive, despite the fact that there were boats with engines, motorboats, on the Rufiji River and the lake systems, because we were doing boat safaris, and we were doing, well, apart from the vehicle and walking safaris, we were doing boat safaris. It's a very impressive way to see the Rufiji River system and its lakes and its wildlife. It's quite unique. It's nothing like here, it's nothing like the Serengeti. In fact, it's nothing like anywhere else in Africa. It's the Sulu. Hello, Shrike. The hot shrike. You're going to come back with you? No. Flew down to catch an insect and then flew away. Magpie shrike. So I never experienced floppy trunk syndrome in elephants. Always thought that maybe it was something that they were eating, until I learned that it was maybe pollution from boats, but I still never really learned the answer. That was an interesting question. That brought back memories, I suppose. Brought back all sorts of thoughts. Sorts of thoughts. There you go, there's a new thing to coin. All sorts of thoughts. I like this question that conjure up all sorts of thoughts. Okay, so we want snakes on the road, Brian. Mating or fighting or catching things, or just snakes just stopping and looking at us on the road. Come on. Snake. Come on. WildEarthTV is who we are, and if you want to ask me anything, you can send a question to questions@WildEarth.tv. Somebody wants to know something. I should think of questions to be asking you too, but go ahead. That question, Sarah in Virginia. But yes, all sorts of thoughts now in my head. No, rather we shouldn't have questions like that. About Robert Mugabe and what he's done with for his 91st birthday celebration. Elephants and lions so that they can eat them. Let's not even go there. I was asked the other day whether African, not to mention the sable and the buffalo, yes. Now that's going to have a big birthday bash for his 91st birthday. I wish, I better not say what I wish. However, I was asked the other day whether, and this is for the benefit of the planet. So this is how it is. There's no emotion involved in this at all. Although you might find some emotion behind my voice, because it's there. Do the African countries, does Africa as a continent, and do the African countries value the wildlife that they have? Do they appreciate it? Do they revere it? Do they understand it? Do they live by it? Do they do what old tribal groups used to do? Do they appreciate it? Do they respect it? And I said, unfortunately not. And I think if there is a country that is one of the saddest cases of, no, it's not actually, but wildlife, I have to give Mugabe a bit of credit. Deserves to survive, but he made a big mistake when he said that the elephants have to pay for they have to pay rent. Elephants have to pay rent to live in Zimbabwe, and to pay that rent he needs to take some elephants out of the population to pay that rent. That wasn't bad enough that he did that, and then he stole about 80, I don't know how many, baby elephants from their families and sent them to France. Why? Where? Okay, never mind. China I can understand, because, I'm sorry, China, if I have to generalize, if there's ever a country that is going to go down in history as the most callous and the most uncaring and the most, I won't go that far, but China, you'll be in the bottom of the list when it comes to caring about nature. Zimbabwe will be second. Some of the West African countries will be very high up on the list with you, the way they're doing things, and well, this can't be helped. But this is just Africa, and so there are a lot of African countries that have fallen into the greed of the Western world, and because they have to have a running economy with the GDP and everything else, animals and wildlife become secondary. No, not even secondary. They just fall to the bottom of the pile of anything that needs to be done in a country. And since graft and corruption and embezzlement and third world values exist, there will always be an imbalance when it comes to how nature is cared for, because it's all jumping on the billion-dollar bandwagon. You know, it might be something as simple as bees dying out on the planet. It might be something as simple as that for humans to wake up and realize that if something simple as one species of insect, the bee, if something as simple as that gets lost on this planet, it would be tickets for us, because we depend so much on everything that we eat, which is mostly pollinated by bees. Most of our fruit, veg, everything, any plant that breathes, that is anywhere close to our food source, is mostly bees have got to do with it. And since we pretty much eradicated everything else in our monoculture farms that we produce, that if bees go, we're going to have to resort to things like what some countries are doing, like China, where their bees are gone, where they actually have to hand pollinate plants so that they can produce fruit. Well, that might just be a new way of redistributing wealth, I suppose. That the rich landowners that have all the farms might have to pay a little bit more money for labor, so that they can hire more people to pollinate the plants by hand, so that they can produce more fruit. So the more people they hire, the more fruit are produced. And so it does a really good job for unemployment. Ooh, wild dogs. That's weird. Had a bit of rain on it. Wild dog trap. Maybe they were running around here in the rain the other day after we left them, and then they went on to Buffalo's. I don't know. There were just some tracks, quite strangely enough. When was the last rain that fell? Night before last. Hello, Donna, on email. No news on Karula, I'm afraid. No one has mentioned her in days. The last anything was mentioned about quarantine male was that he was treed by a pair of Styx lionesses, a couple of nights ago on Little Gowrie, just south of Djuma, or south of Western Gowrie. And as far as lion are concerned, at about the time that we were watching elephants this morning, about 8:30, I'd say, with about half an hour to go towards the end of drive, somebody said that they found the kahumas on Buffalo's Hook. I'm just trying to think where it was. I'll think of the name. Longpole, somewhere near Longpole or something. No, North. Kayamanzi. Maybe it was somewhere near Kayamanzi. No, that wasn't that far north. Yes, Longpole. From Cheetah Cut Line, there's that road that goes. Okay, now, funny enough, I should have known that. Now, where Cheetah Cut, that corner, that road that goes into Buffelshoek, that's Longpole. That heads sort of northeast. So that's where the kahunas were on Buffelshoek. There were, what were their names? Somewhere on Torchwood yesterday, just east of Cheetah Cut Line. The Calamatis, another pride that I've never seen, I didn't even know existed, never heard of them before. And there were also Djuma timbers that came on last, so that's why we're back on going back to go to Philemon's Dip, we're going to go to Treehouse to go and have a look at Zoe's to see if I can see that zebra. And then I thought I'd go and drive around, see if I could pick up on where the zebra went to. Hi Linda. Evidently Linda's saying that floppy trunk is Satara in the Kruger, which yes Linda, I suppose it's fairly close to me and the Timbavati. It's closer to us here at Djuma actually. Satara is just inside, not very far inside here in the second walking at Fred. What year, where, how many interest was reported being a place Satara, sorry, there's an entire region where I know floppy trunk syndrome was reported. In fact, there are no lakes anywhere near Satara, it's just a bush area. So obviously the plant species are going to be very, very different, and also not only that, but they're going to have access to water that is polluted by lead in fuel. Hey squirrel. Okay, that's on. But that's a good start. It's a good start to an answer. Thanks, Linda. Sharon in Austria. Thanks, Sharon. Sharon's just saying that the paralysis that is the all of that is about the deterioration of tip of the thing 90s, because then I thought it was over because there was nothing reported, or it wasn't that there was nothing reported. I guess we didn't have the internet and we didn't have the information that we have today, and subsequently I was not able to follow up on all the info. There are definitely dog tracks here. There's a route that's been pulled up. Maybe it was a dog looking for a stick. Maybe. Okay, so that's getting a bit much for me to remember, but yeah. Sharon is just saying that a couple of different species of plants, the toxicity of which could be the result, or rather the causes, and the proliferation of these plants probably being a result of climate change and changes in vegetation and habitat. As we see here, I mean, we've got this red star zinnia that is taking hold. There are dogs here somewhere. There are wild dogs somewhere. Not many. There are a few dog tracks back there. The other ones I thought might have been old, but these ones are fresh. The problem is if they're sleeping in the shade somewhere here, in quarantine, there's no way of finding them. They're not running on the road anymore. So it's not the whole pack either. And there's been baboon here. Warthogs. Warthog. Zebra been rolling in the dust. Here's some zebra. Aha. It looks like this is our zebra we were looking for. There's the stallion. This might be the mare lying down here. She's got the shadow stripes on the neck. She's the only one I've ever seen with shadow stripes all the way up to the neck. And here he is coming out onto the road. Hello, Mr. Z. Yep, that is her. So he's brought her here. He's managed to bring her here, close to camp. I don't want to stay too close to her, because I don't want to stress her out and force her to want to stand up. She's lying in the shade. She's comfortable, but for now, move a little bit away from her, just so that I really wouldn't want her to have to stand up quickly. I don't even know if this is sort of the stallion or maybe it's her son. Hey boy. But he won't go far from her, but he'll also, well, today he's giving us a wider berth. Yesterday he actually wouldn't get out of the road for me. He's the stallion. If we can get to see the right side of his rump, we saw him the other day. I think they were on Arathusa with another few zebra. And he's got a couple of scars on the right side of his rump that make him so unmistakable. Apart from his pattern, he's also got an incredible little spiral, that very thin line that wraps around his ear, and it's kind of a stripe you would never paint. If you ever painted a zebra, you wouldn't even think of painting a stripe like that. We've also got a little family of warthog. That's Mum on the left. And rather an unusual sight, a bird on an animal. No, not really. This is the red-billed oxpecker. We employ the red-billed oxpeckers to sit on animals so that we can have a scale, a size scale, animal versus size of oxpecker. Or vice versa. Anyways, that's Big Mom on the left, and the sub-adult on the right is her daughter, probably from last year or even the year before, but most likely from last year. One of her surviving piglets from, well, when I say last year, I mean last summer. And then her two new piglets, which would have been, didn't she have 5? Pig altogether had 7. No, there was a one there's 7 on the airstrip at Arathusa.
This one might have had 5.
No, there was that one at Sandy Patch that had 5. I don't know how many, I can't remember. But this is the quarantine warthog, the one that lives around here. We don't see her too often, but I'm wondering how many piglets she had when the grasses were still short. She's only got 2 left now. She's not a young warthog, this either. She's quite an established warthog. So she stays behind because she's not going to have her own piglets yet. She's only a yearling. And she stays behind and helps Mom with these piglets. As a minder, as a babysitter, as a dutiful teenage daughter. You can see Mom is a much bigger warthog, and you can see that also she's been around a few years. Very big tusks, quite wide body, quite deep body. Her mammaries are very, well, it's more her nipples are very, very long, which is an indicator of numerous litters of piglets. What is your problem? Go away, bird. Meh. Something to be aware of. The piglets and the zebra don't think so. So whatever you're nagging about, you're not getting their attention. That's the go-away bird. The grey lurie. Meh. Oh, we're going to leave them be. We need to go and look for things. Need to search further. Bye-bye. Birds and bees and things. Zebra things. Oh. See, I'm thinking that that's the young stallion. That's not the male, the big. How long will the warthogs stay together? Carry on Twitter. Probably in her second year she gets chased off by mom to go and have her own family. Because then the females from this little group, if there are any, will then become her nannies for the next litter. And so the little girl that moves off in her second year, she becomes a mom, and then one of her daughters becomes a nanny in her first year, and so it goes on. They can have larger associations. You can have, oh, look at that, baboon and kudu. Our big kudu on the other side of the dam with some baboons. Actually, you know what? The only thing we can do is watch baboon from here, because if we go onto the dam wall, they're going to disappear down below the dam wall and hide away like they always do. So the only opportunity we have of actually watching them a little bit is doing so from a distance. Interesting that this big troop has decided to come and spend time here. Maybe they're on a summer holiday vacation from their usual haunts. We need to see a little bit more. The angle's wrong. Look, there's a kudu bull walking through the spillway in the background. Unusual that his head height is the same sort of level as the dam wall. That's that tight corkscrew kudu bull. Playing hide and seek. Hello, Gloria. Oh, look at that. There's some grooming and there's just a few little branches in the way of that there. Wattle. Gloria wants to know if the baboons will run if I get close, or will they jump on the vehicle? No, they will run. The way the road works going through this spillway that has been created by the flood, is as soon as I nose the vehicle around that corner that is sort of at the beginning of the shade where these baboon are, they'll all run down into the drainage line and hide behind trees. That's what baboon do. So the only way that we can actually observe them doing things is to sit here. There, that's that spillway. We would have to cross this spillway where this road is, and then from here we'd have to drive all the way up there, and then as we come around this bend over here, this bend, they would see us and they would run away. So if it was a straight road towards them, I might be able to just sneak a little bit closer every now and then, but unfortunately, well, we can try. I'm not fond of forcing animals to move. The other thing is that I wanted to get to, well, we don't have to go anywhere other than see what we've got. But we can try. This is not the trooper baboon that used to live here. This is a trooper baboon that come in from another property down southeast of us, and I guess they're not too sure how humans are going to deal with them being here. There's a centuries old or millennia old conflict between primates because we compete for the same food, but we also have this uncanny habit of storing food, and primates are sometimes the first or second to learn about it, and consequently they can become a problem. They haven't even come around the corner yet, they're running away. The whole troop moving, and they were all relaxing. Well, maybe some of them will come back again, but that's just the way it is with baboons here. There are places in South Africa and in Africa, places where tourists and baboon meet on so many different levels, but there's always the one level that destroys the baboon, and that is that people have this nasty habit of trying to feed wild animals. And what most people don't know is that when you try and feed wild animals, you might as well sign their death warrant, because, well, the animals always get the better of the humans. Oh, that was a big male chasing another one. At the very tip of Africa, almost the very tip of Africa, not the southernmost point, but at the tip of the Cape, on Cape Point, where the Atlantic Ocean wraps around the Cape of Good Hope, or the Cape of Storms, there's a national park. And all the way down there, through that national park, there are baboons on that mountain that have learnt so much about us humans, but also how easy it is to intimidate us and to steal from us, and they become bandits. In the Kruger National Park, when you drive through the Kruger, because people are what people are, they try and feed animals even in a national park. The baboons climb on vehicles there. That's one of the reasons why in the Kruger National Park you're not really allowed to open vehicles, because of the way animals react to vehicles within the public side of Kruger. And it's very difficult to try and it's not difficult to explain. It's difficult to get across the difference. We are part of Kruger, but we're not part of Kruger. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people. This is privately owned land, yet from a wildlife point of view, it is incorporated into Kruger. We cannot drive this to the Kruger National Park. Technically speaking, stop this, Wendy, jerking like a jigger. Lost my train of thought now. We're in Kruger. We're in the greater Kruger National Park. However, we are on a private piece of land known as Djuma Game Reserve. It is owned by Yuri Moorman and his sister, and they have made an agreement with the Sabi Sand and the rest of the properties that are part of the Sabi Sand Game Reserve to be a part of the Kruger National Park. There is no connection for humans or road network, or there's no means for private land have land Greater Kruger to get into the Kruger National Park without going out of the private reserves all the way around farming and agriculture in towns and cities and villages to get into the Kruger National Park proper. There are no boundaries. There are only mapped boundaries that humans have to honor, and the animals have a much larger area to move around in. So a lot of the animals that are here are the same animals that move through the Greater Kruger National Park that can be seen by the visitors of the Kruger National Park who maybe drive their own cars, or if you're an international tourist, you can hire a vehicle from one of your car hire rental, what do you call it, car rental, car hire, and you can drive yourself through Kruger. But you cannot do that here in a private reserve. You can only do it in the national park, the public part of Kruger, and we can't as a vehicle get to that public part of Kruger with our vehicles. But because of that also, although there are vast areas that are open to Kruger that are privately owned, and there are a lot of animals that move from Kruger into these private areas, animals that are very accustomed to all the different vehicles that they might come across. There are a lot of animals that don't ever get into Kruger itself. Baboon are one of them. These are territorial, but they pretty much stick around a very small area, so they never experience the big public roads of the Kruger National Park, where there are even tour buses and vast numbers of vehicles. They tarred roads, and I was supposed to check on the tree frog another day. It's not going anywhere, that tree frog. So you'll find that if you drive your own vehicle through Kruger, there are times when you have to keep your windows closed because the baboons climb all over the vehicles in places in Kruger because people have tried to feed them. Here in the private reserves, it's taboo. And these troops, although they know that they can maybe steal food from us humans if they can get a chance, they are never given food. So they never associate vehicles with food, so they never come to the vehicles. If anything, this status quo of them stealing food and being messy thieves, boy, you do not want a trooper baboon in your kitchen. I'll elaborate later. But they only know how to steal food, and so there's this conflict, there's this almost animosity between humans and baboons here. Although this is Kruger, it's different to the relationship of baboons and humans within the public and is public the right word? Public part of Kruger, where you can drive yourselves and people just misbehave so badly. Because who's going to see it? You're on a road that is miles from nowhere, you're in a national park, on the road. Who's going to see it if you break the rule? And isn't it in our nature? Isn't it sort of, how many of us humans get a kick out of breaking a rule? So Fortunately, we don't have that problem of baboons climbing on our cars here, because it would be a hand-up situation. Okay, I'll give up, take what you want, kind of like a mugging to a baboon. They are extremely strong. The big male baboon carries canines longer than any of the carnivores that we have here. Longer and more vicious. Longer canines than lion. And they use them. And they do kill things. They're exceptionally strong. So I guess we're lucky. Oh, long and elaborate. Sharon, my thoughts exactly. Sharon in... Well, that's interesting. Another buffalo thorn broken up and bark chewed. I'm sure this is the same matriarch we saw this morning that's done this. Oh, flies out of my face. All been moved off of the road, but pretty sure that there's only one elephant I know of late that has been, and that means they came from Mamba Road. Never needed a piece of guarri more than I need it right now. Take another one for later. I'm tired of hitting myself in the face. Sure. Sharon, my sentiments, Sharon in Austria. Sharon, we everything is open to interpretation, but I agree with you. You know, it would appear that the zebra has been asking for help. That's because, I don't know, maybe the anthropomorphized too long. I don't know. Maybe it is. It's certainly the energy I'm getting, and I've spent enough time with animal communicators and people who understand these things to learn that you never, little Franklin with her babies. Sorry, Franklin. Sharon is saying surely by now, after this elephant, this zebra has made it so clear that it's looking for help, surely it doesn't cost that much, or it's not that impossible to do something, and that the policies and, you know, I can only try my best, Sharon. I can only make some phone calls and speak to the relevant people, and it is so out of my hands that even the thought of calling them and asking them is, well, I will do that, but it is so out of my hands and our hands as well, that all we are supposed to do here is film things, and we've known from the past but it's just the way it is. In terms of what it really means to be able to bring a camera into Africa and to be able to film animals. And it was very much the same. I mean, it hit home so hard when Karula's cub was killed in front of us. And here's an event we've been waiting for 2 years now. The birth of her new cubs, the sight of her new cubs. And there it was, the day we find the cub gets killed. There's an elephant, by the way. I know that public opinion can sway people's minds, but it's, you know, there's a principle that we are not part of this environment anymore, and that our interference makes, or our presence is enough that it affects animals. And we've put in roads, we've put in, when I say we, I'm just meaning us as humans. Hello, young man. He's not such a young man, he's a nice big bull actually. Our very presence has some impact on the environment and the animals around us. And a lot of that is actually, there's a positive spin to it, because what we're able to do is we're able to teach people, we're able to show people. What is he doing? He's smelling for marula fruits. The last of the marula fruits that might be lying underneath the tree. I'm going to go around the other side of this tree. I think the sunlight on his tusks might be very, very nice. Already yesterday I wished that there was something that I could do. I wish there was some way, and I even tried to communicate to that little stallion. I even tried to sort of put that thought out there that if there was something I could do, then I would do it. If there was something that... But we also do have to take a minute to consider what it is that would have to be done and weigh it up in terms of the best interests of that animal. Because if something has to be done, then I wouldn't say an army of people, but an entourage of people would have to come in and create an extremely stressful situation for that zebra, darting it, giving it a nervous system depressant that renders it incapable of moving, yet it can hear and it can feel and it can see and it can... And how it can be so stressed out by the whole act of darting it and then manhandling it so that you can manipulate it to find out what is wrong. Maybe it needs an x-ray, maybe there's no way of knowing what it needs. Hello boy, you've just been in Twin Dams, I'm sure. Got lovely tusks. Heading up towards Chelapan. I've seen what darting animals and putting them to do. I've seen how they have to be manhandled. They are large, bulky mammals that it's not like you have all of the equipment in a veterinary surgery or chains and pulleys and things. Sometimes ropes and all sorts of things have to be used to be able to turn animals over and to move them, and it's it comes down to what is best for the individual animal, and it's very, very hard to diagnose what is wrong. It is clearly a very serious thing. And then to exacerbate its stress and its pain and everything else by having humans manhandle it under anesthetic, almost anesthetic conditions. It's not like a general anesthetic where it can go to sleep completely. It's a hard call to make. It's not an easy decision. It sounds like it's easy. It sounds like it's an animal in distress, fix it. But it's not that easy. It's a wild animal that the drugs, everything else that it has to go through could kill it quicker than, well, the other side of it, of course, is that this is what nature does. This is how it works. There are some animals in this part of the world who maybe there's a predator, that is a lion that is injured, that can't quite run as fast as it needs to, and it's got cubs, and it's got to feed them, and it depends, its life and the lives of its cubs depend on whether it's going to have a successful hunt or not. And being injured, the chances of catching a healthy animal are almost zero. And he's going back down to the riverbed. And so a lioness who's injured, her only chance might be that she's going to come across something that is badly injured. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I'm just saying that's how nature deals with things. That these things happen, and that there are animals that depend on these things happening. Old male lions that have been kicked out. Sorry, Mr. Ellie, I won't come any closer. Just turned his head towards me to say stop there, which I did. He's a lovely bull. Magnificent, actually. Hello, Natalie. Natalie's in Canada. Have I ever met or worked with Daphne Sheldrick? I have only met her. I haven't worked with her. I would love to. I mean, I would love to be one of the guys that she has raising some of those orphans at the orphanage in Nairobi. I met her in Nairobi. She was a friend of people who were letting me convalesce in their home after I had been mauled by an elephant in Tanzania. And it was shortly after she had just had an accident with one of her elephants, or who she believed was one of her elephants. She'd been thrown into a rock, and her hip was shattered, and she was still walking with a stick. Eleanor, her elephant. She thought it was Eleanor, and I think it turned out to be not Eleanor, and took offense to her touching it. Anyways, we had some good chats. A wonderful woman. And even more remarkable now that I've read her biography, or her autobiography, actually. Let's follow him. He's kind of heading towards Chelapan. He's just had a mud bath, which I'm guessing might have been in Twin Dams at some point a little while ago. But he's slowly heading north towards Chelapan. And he's a really wonderful, peaceful Ellie to talk to, or rather just to spend time with. maybe something we need, isn't it? After some of the subjects we've been talking about. Just a little bit of grounding with the big bull Ellie. It's funny how there are times in my life when I need it, and there's this bull. It happens at home when I have a particularly bad day or a hard time with things. And I get in my landy and I take a little drive. Sometimes I don't have to drive far, just up on my driveway, or not very far. Sometimes just have to sit on my patio and he's there. Not this one. Random bulls. Not random bulls. Bulls from home. Hello Nicole, I'm so glad to hear from you. Nicole in Germany. Guten Tag. Und wie geht's? Best places in Africa for birding. Well, obviously the Okavango Delta is one of them. There are parts of KwaZulu-Natal here in South Africa that are great birding spots. The thing is, though, that there's so many places that have some endemic species or such varied species. You can't just go to one place. I mean, you have to experience Southern Africa, somewhere in Southern Africa for the Southern African species. And perhaps parts of Kruger, here parts of Kruger, and then parts of Botswana, and then of course maybe the Zambezi Valley. And then you have to experience East Africa, and to experience that you have to do a little bit of southern Tanzania, central Tanzania, going into some of the mountainous areas of like the Aberdares in Kenya, or even Nairobi's got some wonderful species that you might not find south of Tanzania. So there are some wonderful spots, but obviously limited because of habitat and elevation and things. But undoubtedly the Okavango Delta, it's just so much more conducive to birding than anything else. Water birds and forest birds, and very special. Oh, by the way, speaking of birds, I had another visit today at Djuma game at Vuyatela of a purple-crested taraka. It was crying out very close to, in fact it should have been right in Vuyatela Lodge, right in the camp itself, because it was so close to our compound. So I go back a little bit because of this well, he's going to have to move out here. There's a drainage line, so he can't really go much more to the left. He's going to have to come around us or something, or go back to the drainage line. But look at those tusks. And he's not even a big ellie. So he's got a lot of growing to do, which means that in 10 years' time, those tusks are going to be something else. Take note of some things like that little nick under the bottom of his left ear that we can see. Yeah, it looks like someone's taken a bite out of the bottom of that ear, and then as soon as he clears that guarri bush, you can see he's got a few more tattered chunks out of the top of that left ear. That is going to stay with him for life. So watch this space. You might find him later on, 10, 15 years, 20 years down the line, as a considerable tusked elephant. Yes, he's coming through now, maybe. Pulling some creepers. He has other plans. Go into the drainage line, maybe. Yes, no. Yep. It's cooler down there, I guess. No, he hasn't gone far. He's just moved a little bit. Maybe we ought to just leave him, because we're not going to be able to get closer to him. And since he's down there in that thicket, to go and do a little loop, go and look for something, and then come back here maybe half an hour, or come back in a little while and see if we can't find him again. He could follow this all the way to Djuma waterhole, or Gowrie Dam as it were. Oh! Hidden hole. Hidden in the grass. Sorry, Brian. No, I really didn't see that. Hidden by grasses. Guess we can't go through there then. Thought we might be able to squeeze through there. They wouldn't say that there's a hole in the ground. Is he, or is it Lizzie, San Diego? Gosh. Have humans ever got too close to the animals and prove it? Yes, all the time. Is he Lizzie? There are constantly people that are pushing the boundaries of what they can and cannot do, because people just don't know that. Case of ignorance is bliss, really, when it comes to human behavior with animals, especially in the wild. And you even get people who think that just because animals don't run away, they're tame, so they'll get out of their cars and they'll try and approach animals. There'll be people who try and drive their cars right up to animals, and well, there have been a few accidents, there have been a few retaliations by animals, but generally, most of the time, I'd say people behave themselves. Most of the time, people tend to keep their distance. I think to a large extent, most people that visit a national park in their own vehicles, there's a little bit of fear, and fear is always good because it makes people maintain a distance. So I think the majority of people behave themselves, and the majority of people enjoy themselves, because it is, after all, a big public area. And there's nothing better than the public to police itself, especially with the social media that we have nowadays. And it goes so far as now you can publicly shame people who are misbehaving. You can take photographs of them, or even, I suppose, video clips now, misbehaving, and you can post it on social media, and the park can take action, and I think even in some cases the park can ban those people from coming back. But you're always going to get people who are going to push the boundaries, try and do things that they're not supposed to do. But for the most part, I think it works fine. I think for the most part, most people have respect, and most people know the boundaries they need to keep. There's a wonderful program in Kruger called the Honorary Ranger Program, where frequent visitors to Kruger who are very interested in conservation, and people who are committed to ensuring the safety of not only the people but the animals as well. There are a lot of these very well-intentioned people who join up with the honorary rangers. Of course, they have to attend meetings and courses and discussions. There's certain criteria that have to be met to become an honorary park ranger, but the good thing is that there are a lot of them, and while they not be employed by the Park Service, they might not be employed by the national parks at all, the fact that they are conscientious people means that they are out there to try and maintain a certain sort of status quo, as it were, while they are visiting the park, so that they have some standing on talking people down and telling people to behave properly. They might not be employed, but they have some authority to be able to keep other people in line, I think it was, as it were. But I think that one of the greatest things that we have right now is the fact that social media is able to do what it does. I mean, people misbehave. They don't realize it, especially in a public situation where you have numerous vehicles at a sighting, whether it be elephant or lion, no matter what it is in Kruger, numerous vehicles at a sighting. You're invariably going to have somebody who's got a video camera or a smartphone or something that is able to videotape an event and videotape some idiot doing something wrong. And the fortunate thing is that you can do something about it now. You can hand it over to the right authorities to take action, as long as you get clear enough evidence. I mean, I don't think it's anything that will stand up in court, but it's certainly evident, and it's certainly good enough for the park itself to take action. People getting out of their vehicles, people harassing animals, people feeding animals, people speeding. Sean from Canada, wanting to know about white lions in Timbavati. Now, the original white lions back in the 70s were found by Chris McBride and his wife, and he wrote the book White Lions at Timbavati, and was later made into a movie, and that's how the white lions were originally discovered. Of course, there have been white lions throughout history, but that was the first time they'd been found. And well, Sean saying that he grew up with Chris and wants to know, visiting the Timbavati in December, wants to know what his chances are of seeing white lion when he visits. I think, Sean, your chances are pretty good. Make no mistake. Problem is, I don't know. You need to tell me sort of more or less where in the Timbavati, because the Timbavati is actually quite a large area, and not all the lion in the Timbavati carry, or not all of them produce white cubs, or maybe have white cubs at the moment. So from that point of view, which camp or where are you going to be visiting in the Timbavati? And my suggestion would be is if you could contact any of the people in that part of the world to know which lion pride there is in that part of Timbavati, what their traversing area is, and whether at the moment they're seeing any of the prides that have white lion. And right now I'm concentrating on a tawny lion. But I'd like to maybe just pop down to Treehouse Dam. I think that might be an idea. We just pop down to Treehouse Dam. I heard on the radio there was some buffalo there, but that was about an hour and a half ago. Things change fairly quickly. Okay, you never know when something will pop up. But I think there's a Matimba here somewhere. Nobody went tracking him, nobody went looking for him today. Because 2 Matimbas came out of here, out of this road, or up this road from the south. Evidently, I haven't checked myself, but there's one set of tracks here. Maybe I'll see on this road. Only one rail and one set of tracks here too. We'll see. We'll see. Evidently there were 2 lion that came up from the south early this morning, and only one lion, we followed one lion's tracks from Quarantine going across the dam wall up onto Central Road, and then he went north up Gowrie Cut Line, and we didn't see his tracks crossing Biffles at Cut Line, but about an hour after I found his tracks there, somebody saw his tracks crossing onto Biffleshoek. So I'm guessing that maybe we might have even driven past him at some point, and that, or maybe he did cross and maybe I just didn't see his tracks. But I tracked him as far as I could, and it looks like it looks like his brother is still here somewhere. Not expecting him to be at the dam. I'm expecting him to be close to Rebecca's Road side of things, maybe. Buffalo. What a surprise. Hello, Buffalo. Anything new happening today? Andrew. Okay. I think we'll leave these highly active buffalo for now. Hello, Mr. Buffalo. Sorry. Piece of grass sticking out of his mouth like a farmer. Herringbone grass. Any station, Western Gowrie? Hey Andrew, where you at? Oh, okay, copied. Interesting that PC car is active again. Okay, copied. Thanks. Did you see Nyoni at the treehouse? Yeah, there's some Nyoni here now at the south of the dam. Yeah, firm. Okay, yeah, there was also an Ndlov to south of Chelapan. We're almost alone in the world this afternoon. Sounds like only maybe one other vehicle driving around. Andrew, who's now gone up to Buffelshoek. And, well, saying that the hyena den here on Philemon's Dip is active already. And we thought that the den had moved because we went past there just after the rain. Maybe it was during the rain that they left, I don't know. Evidently there was a sub-adult and a couple of youngsters at this den here on Philemon's Dip. We'll go there just after sunset. Hello Impala. Impala. This must be our unicorn. Yeah, there's the unicorn running away on the left. Our local bachelor boys, bachelor Impala from Treehouse Dam. And we've got some pretty light coming through, so I want to just go back up onto Philemon's cut line. I want to go and investigate an old track that might hold a clue to what happened to another lion. Because we seem to have lost a lion this morning. Don't ask how you can lose a lion, but we did. 1 minute there was two, because I didn't even know that there were two of them. I thought there was only the one, because we were only following the tracks of the one lion who didn't stop, didn't pass go, didn't collect 200. Just went straight to Buffelshoek. And I later learned that there were actually two of them that had come onto Western Gowrie, onto Djuma. And I did find a track now, just before we came down to Treehouse Dam. I did find a track, one single track, seemed to go off of the road at a 90-degree angle, almost as though he didn't even turn onto Philemon's cut line. He just went straight from Spum Road, straight north, across the road. And I know that he could be hiding anywhere, but there is an old track that I want to follow from Rebecca's Road, just in case we might see him from there. And since we're in the area, we'll then proceed to the hyena den. We have no luck, and maybe we'll hear something calling. Oh golly gosh. Sorry, Andrew, my volume's been down while I was talking to Andrew, and I forgot to turn it up, so I've missed anything you might have said. One question. Oh, sorry. I forget when I do that. Hello, Diane. Do guides have to take continuing classes to continue as guides? For some things, yes, Diane. For some things, they have to renew first aid and rifle handling are things that have to be renewed. And, of course, the public driver's permit that allows you to drive with public, with paying guests on them. You're not allowed to drive people around unless you have what's known as a PDP. Those are renewable, but your knowledge, once you reach a level, whatever level it is that you attain, you write the exam for that level, you have the certificate for that level. It's like a degree, it's like a diploma. You don't have to renew that, but there are certain aspects to the job that you do need to renew, and that is your ability and competence carrying a heavy caliber rifle, dealing with potentially dangerous animals or animals that are potentially harmful to the guests you might be escorting. Been a hot day. If he's going to be anywhere, he's going to be down here somewhere. Not easy to see things down there, but also it's cooling down now, so there's greater chance of him lifting his head if he is sleeping here, if this cat is somewhere here. Yeah, kitty kitty. Kitty, kitty, kitty. sure that he's here somewhere, but it's just gonna require some pretty hairy footwork, and it's too late to do it now. Glimmer of hope that as we were driving through here, that big cat will sit up and show himself. If he's anywhere, he'll be down there where it's relatively deep and shady. That would be too open because it was a hot sunny afternoon. I think this would be a little bit too open if it was here anyway. I think he'd be down in the drainage line. Maybe we'll just have to go back the other way and have a look. That foot. It's such a vast area, it would be anybody's guess as to where he is. It was just a potluck thing. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes I've done that where I think, oh, let's just take a chance and have a look. And something's there. This time it didn't pan out. There? Oh, is it that insect repellent that's ting, 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 making a noise. So let's see if we can find. We're going to come back to the den in a little bit. I want to use daylight for other things. Let's see if we can see that Ellie bull again. Very little hornbill. These are red-billed hornbill chicks. Maybe 2 months old. Learning to do stuff for themselves and how they need to work those beaks on the end of their faces. 3 of them. There's another one, number 4. I think that might be an adult though. That one that went into the grass, caught something. They can be quite comical when they're young like this. Sorry child, the family's left, you need to go follow them. I'm not sure if I understand the question, Raisa. Have I ever seen animals backing up like elephants do? You mean like reversing? Gosh, question I'd have to think about quite hard. Have I ever seen animals backing up from what though? Or just in general? Pardon? That's beautiful down here. He should be somewhere here. Cool. Maybe he went back up. Hippos back up. I've seen buffalo back up. I don't know. I'm not too sure how you mean back up. I mean, what? Take a few steps back, or walk backwards, or in relation to the vehicle, or maybe I know that. I really am not too sure what you mean, Raisa. I'd love to have maybe a little bit more sort of direction. What sort of question you're asking? Have I ever seen animals back up? I'm not sure. Back up, reverse from something, or just see. I don't know how to. I don't know how to interpret that. Much as I'd love to answer it, so I'm thinking about what I think it means. Maybe you can elaborate for me. Red-faced mouse birds, we don't really get a chance to see them. We will be going to the hyena den. We are on our way there now shortly, folks. Some people are asking for the hyena den. I think we will do. We'll spend the rest of our drive there. I was just hoping that maybe we'd be able to see this early again with the sunset. Red-faced mouse birds. I don't think we've really had them on camera. They're not easy to catch on camera. Very often we find them flying across from one bush to the other, and their habits are to sort of they're fruit eaters, berries and fruit and things, so they spend a lot of time in vegetation. There's a leopard tortoise, finally, number 3 of the little 5. A lovely big leopard tortoise. Hello, leopard tortoise. I showed you rhinoceros beetles and I showed you an antlion, and I've been looking for a leopard tortoise, and here is a leopard tortoise. Trying to get to a spot to hide for the night. Dig into some of the base of that quarry bush and that long grasses, or those long grasses I should say. That little thicket. That's where it's going to hide for the night. The fact that there has been tortoise activity and snake activity and there's termite activity, and I've seen a few other things. That little bit of weather we had yesterday might not be the last of it. Hello Kathleen in New York, northern New York State, I think, in that state, can't be city. Kathleen was wanting to know, have the vultures migrated? Look at that beautiful sky. Vultures don't migrate, Kathleen. Vultures go where there are carcasses and where there is food. We haven't had any predators around for a couple of days since they killed the wildebeest. That was the last time we had vultures here, and without any kills or any carcasses, vultures are other places where there are carcasses and predators with kills. Something could happen tonight that could produce a lion could come onto Gowrie or come onto Djuma, or leopard could make a kill. Something could happen that will bring vultures back tomorrow. But the vultures don't migrate. They live here all year round, and they cover vast distances. Vultures can feed on a carcass one day, and another day, the next day, they could be 200 miles away on another carcass. So we're in tiny little couple of thousand acres here of Djuma. Okay, I know that Ellie's in there somewhere, but it's quite thick. It's getting darker. I especially didn't want to be him when it was getting dark. I wanted to be with him until sunset. But I guess he hasn't come out of the woodwork yet. Let's go play with hyena children. We can. They should be getting active now. Any vultures that live within this area, Djuma to them is like a speck on their map and the area that they cover. It's a tiny little piece of, and if there's nothing happening, as I say, there's nothing happening here, no prospects for carcasses or for any dead animals or any kills. They will be where there are. So it could be 2 miles away on another property, it could be 20 miles away in a different part of the reserve, it could be 200 miles away deep in the heart of Kruger. Who knows, it couldn't even be a few hundred miles away over in Botswana that they're at today. Vultures are not limited to the distance that they can travel. They soar into the sky using the thermals. They get up to a few thousand feet and they choose a direction and they can cover hundreds of kilometers or miles and still be back for dinner, or rather it's going to dinner, still be back to go to bed in the nest. Although generally speaking they pretty much stay close to wherever there is food, gorge themselves, and then maybe get back to where they belong. Maybe tomorrow is the day that we might find leopard tracks or something similar. Maybe tomorrow is the day that a bit of a change in activity. Or maybe the next day. You never know, we never tell. Oh, I see a hyena pup. That's that little one, that Tara name. Tombela. It's getting confusing now. We're going to have to try and find some sort of marker, something that maybe maybe marks that one as different. Without markings, it's difficult. Hello, children. Are you back again, huh? Two pups here. You see now, these are two big pups. They're much bigger than the two tiny little ones that we saw a couple of nights ago. Which means that they're even two smaller cubs than these two. Maybe, I don't know, it gets confusing sometimes. This looks like a little sub-adult. It's also a youngster. I'm listening to the same thing that little one's listening to. It sounds like a lot of alarming coming from sort of Treehouse Dam way. Stopped now. It's hard to hear with the sound of the fans and the machines in the car. I think this one's sibling is very shy, and that's why we've only really seen a lot of this little one. Those two that we saw the other night when it was getting really dark, definitely two different cubs. What's confusing is maybe who the cub was that we saw in the den, at the den on Zoe's Road earlier. Or have they come back here? That's another possibility, that they've just come back here after being away for just a day or two. And, well, is that it, children? You're just going to lie down? Thought you were going to get up and play. We came here to see you play. It's wake up time for Hyena. Wake up, get active, and bite some older sibling ears or tail or something. What kind of mange? Diane on email. Do hyenas get mange? Demodectic, dermodectic, or sarcoptic. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I don't want to say yes, I don't want to say no. I know that hyenas are it's possible for them to get mange, yes. Overload of parasites. But what type of mange, I couldn't tell you, so I'd have to find out. You would have to look that up. Maybe we should move on. take a ride around quarantine zones, the open areas, see what we can find as it starts getting dark. Because these children aren't doing much, and well, not much we can do if they're not doing much, because we can hardly see them. And not as active as I thought they might be getting, but it is a very warm evening. Probably a little listless. Adults aren't here. I wonder where the adults are actually. Stop from a different angle for a minute. This little one. Maybe a little more. Probably tasked with looking after the brats while the adults are out doing whatever they're doing. You know, if you take the spot pattern on her front legs there, like the spots, there, those 5, almost 6 spots. There's a spot on the wrist, and then going up on the upper arm from the shoulder down, there are 2 big spots, and then sort of 5 or 6 little ones. You won't find that on another hyena. That'll be different on every hyena. That'll be interesting. Even those lovely dark markings on her back. Those Morse code marks. Dash, dot, dot, dash. Okay, good night. Louis, Buffalo, New York. Yeah, I agree with you, Louis, that these are the 2 youngsters that Tara found, and they're starting to get a little bit older now, a couple of weeks later, and that the 2 little ones that we saw are 2 new cubs, and maybe that's why they're 2 dens now. You know, we'll have to visit the other den in the morning, I guess. Might be a bit late to go to the other den now. We can head that way and see how dark it is, but remember, we can't really use lights on these dens with such young cubs. It is a hot, very hot evening. Bit of a storm cell that's hanging over the mountains, stretching a little bit this way, but it's mostly over the mountains. Bit of humidity, and I think there might be more weather on the way. like there might be something coming in from the south actually. Bit of cloud down there. Marianne in the US. Are the Franklins in any way related to the quail? Yes, I guess they are. I need to look at it again. I don't know how many times I've looked up the relationship to francolins and quails and pheasants and things, and it just doesn't stay in my head. But I'll go through the families again maybe tomorrow. It's getting a bit dark now for books. And I know I've just recently done it, just to get to quail partridge family. But they are related in ways, yes. Game birds, ground birds. I think it is going to be a bit too dark by the time we get down here, but all I want to do is ascertain whether there are other individuals here to know that both dens are active, because I don't know, it's not really often that we actually go from one to the other. We normally only visit one den site, and since this one has been active just recently, quarantine as well. Although, if I'm not mistaken, those larger cubs were the cubs that I thought that the ones that we saw here. It wasn't the little, I don't know. As I say, I'm confused. There's nothing here. I'm not seeing any, doesn't mean anything, but I'm not seeing anyone here. Maybe this den is just too overgrown and too Jennifer saying there were two sets of two cubs and then one slightly older one. I don't know, maybe, well, miscommunication I suppose. Maybe there's two new little ones. Unfortunately it's not easy to talk to Tara right now. She's back at Tabatolo, which means you can't get her on the phone or email or anything. I don't know, maybe, I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to Tara since she left. I'm not really, the first I've heard that there were two small cubs, well, that there were two sets of two and one fifth one that was slightly larger. So doesn't really matter. I mean, it's not really that much of an issue. It's not really that much of a muchness. I'm guessing that maybe what's happened here is that rains have washed that den site. They've washed debris and things into that den site. That it's just no longer feasible, no longer viable den site for the cubs, so they've moved them back to the old den site. Or maybe they're now looking at other den sites. In case of time will tell. We'll certainly find out over the next few days. Maybe we can start there in the morning. Who knows? Maybe if we start there in the morning, we can count all the cubs. We can see them all together. Could well be that this den is not being used anymore at all. That they just tested it and maybe it was too overgrown and it's just not, as I said, not feasible, not viable. So they've decided to move back to the old one. We didn't see the moon for a while, actually, come to think of it. A little bit of cloud moving over it from this weather in the west. But we're about a day away from first quarter. Still a little bit of a crescent. Tomorrow it'll be a little bit higher, almost directly overhead, and I'd say probably about a day and a half away from first quarter moon. And there's the Halloween moon. Behind the silver cluster leaf tree, Terminalia sericea, family of the leadwood and the bush willows. The Terminalias, very hardwood trees, very high in tannins. They don't have thorns. The leadwood has spines. There are Terminalias that have spines. There's some of the bush willows, actually, some of the bush willow creepers that have spines. Physical defense. Did we want to stay here to switch off that inverter? I don't think it's necessary. I think it'll be fine. He says, talking to himself. Asked and answered. Into the unknown darkness of Africa. not knowing what lies ahead. Shadows and breezes move the trees. I can only hope that tomorrow morning we're going to wake up, we're going to find leopard tracks. The leopard are going to come back, they're going to think, okay, let's go and see Djuma. We haven't been to Djuma for a while. Could it be that the leopard have been keeping away because they were lying here and they made a kill and they made a noise and made a smell? I guess it's possible. It's too big an area to have one little group of lion and one little kill. It wasn't little, but to have one group of lion and one kill affect the entire leopard population. Maybe affect the life of one or two leopards maximum, but it's not likely to affect even the leopards on Arathusa and Cheetah Plains, and there have been no leopard sightings at all. It's got nothing to do with the fact that the lion were here at Djuma, because the lion are everywhere. I mean, the leopard live within lion's territories. A leopard can't get away from lion because wherever a leopard is within its own territory, it falls within the boundaries of a pride of lion. So it's not like they can get away from them or that they keep away because the lion are there. I wouldn't say either that it's a case of coexistence, or that the type of coexistence, because they are enemies, they dislike each other immensely, and leopard would be killed by lion if lion could get hold of them, and if leopard would get hold of lion's cubs, they would kill them most of the time. So it's a spider web again, because the spiders are out doing their thing now. Here he is, our zebra friend. Oh, that's the mare that's limping. She's not that bad. She's starting to put a little bit of weight on it. Don't want to put any light right on her. She's obviously spending time resting, lying down and resting, and now that it's cooler, she's up again. Possible that the male's around here somewhere. Oh, there he is, behind her. I don't know if it's her stallion or her sub-adult son. Can't remember. I know we did see this group and can't remember the composition of them. But she was a very particular pretty zebra because she's got shadow stripes all the way up her body. Even on her neck she has shadow stripes, which is rather unusual. Maybe it's a muscle sprain or something that she will recover from. She's grazing, she's moving, she's actually putting a little bit of weight on it now. I don't think it's a break. I'm wondering if she didn't get really badly kicked by another mare, because they were in a group, and sometimes the dynamics within a group, because of the hierarchy of the mares and because of the way things work, that sometimes they invade each other's personal space, and sometimes they can get a little bit ugly with each other, biting and kicking. It might be something that's not really that bad, or as bad as maybe we might think. She's up, she's feeding. Stallion is here. None of the other members of that herd are here, so I'm wondering if there wasn't a fallout, and that she just took a really bad kick to the rump, to the rear, damaged, bruised her muscles badly. They've moved a lot since we were last with them earlier this afternoon. They were on the eastern side of what we know as quarantine, closer to the dam. This is the western side. It's possible that they've been down to the dam to drink. And it's most likely they'll be around here tonight on the open area, so that we can start out here tomorrow morning and come and have a look. And maybe all she really needs is just a predator-free environment, which she's got right now, because there aren't any. We don't know of any lion. There's one male lion that we've lost. What I mean by lost is that we don't know where he is. His brother came through here early this morning, but went north, and he's probably going to come past the lodge or past the dam. They might be way out of his way. These two. Oh, you're looking at me. So I'm just babbling on into the microphone, because I suppose it's getting dark out there, and you can't really shine lights on these animals. They're not diurnal animals. But it's fairly safe. I'd say it's fairly safe. There are hyena that might come out here this evening, and the hyena might cause a little bit of havoc. Might hear that from camp, but we'll only really know what's going to go on if we start here in the morning, which we no doubt will do. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for the lovely questions we've had this afternoon. It's been a great afternoon. Nice catching up with that bull. Thanks Brian on camera, Andrew in final control. My name is Mark, from all of us here at Wild Earth. Love you lots. Take care and goodbye.